Hi everybody, I really like being on this side, so I'm just going to stay here for a bit. And this video is going to look at the disadvantages, the problems of imposing a tariff specifically. In truth, a lot of these arguments are quite generic to the issues of protectionism, so don't think these are just confined points for a tariff. They are points you can use generally on any protectionism-based essay, and they're very, very strong. There aren't many of them, but every single point here is a seriously strong point, carries great weight. Okay, so if you can analyse these well, plenty, it's all you need to score very high marks on an essay that came up. So you've got your theory on the one hand, you know what the intentions of a tariff are, you know how a tariff works, the impact it has on a diagram, how to analyse it, you know the arguments for using a tariff, good, but that's only half the essay, right? This is the flip side. So again, here's your tariff diagram. It's such a wonderful, beautiful, useful diagram. It's just magic on axis right here, okay? So this diagram also gives you a lot of the key points you need on the other hand, such as number one, how a tariff distorts the market. You know, free marketeers would hate tariffs, messing around with what was once a very efficient allocation of resources, a market that was doing a pretty damn good job at satisfying as many people and stakeholders as possible. Whereas now, especially on consumers, there is a very detrimental effect. Have a look. The price has increased, doesn't it? From PW to PW plus T. With that higher price comes a loss of consumer surplus. More specifically, there is a deadweight welfare loss of consumer surplus. Horrible news for consumers. They are hindered quite massively as a result of this tariff. Not just because of the higher price, but also a loss of consumer choice. Look at the quantities in the market. Previously, they were consuming Q2, some of which was being supplied by domestic supplies, some of which was being supplied by world supplies through imports. But they were getting a huge amount of choice there. Whatever market this was, they could have picked to buy from domestic supplies, they could have picked something more exotic from abroad, they could have picked something they thought more reliable or higher quality from abroad. They had that choice to make. Now, the kind of choice they have is much less. Only Q4 is the actual quantity coming into the market. So there is a loss of consumer choice as quantity in the market is falling. Okay, so consumers are hurt two ways, and you can really analyse this point. With a loss of consumer surplus from a higher price, a deadweight loss right there, and a loss of consumer choice, and therefore satisfaction, happiness, all that kind of good stuff has been lost. There are also production inefficiencies. So as an economist, which you all are, top economists, right? Yeah. This is a big point to make, because what is economics about? It's all about the efficient allocation of resources. So if through this policy, the allocation of resources has worsened, we have a significant problem here. And we know that this left triangle represents a deadweight welfare loss in terms of a loss of world efficiency gains. So if you want to call it allocative inefficiency, you can do, because that's pretty much exactly what it is. Domestic supplies producing those extra units of quantity is wasteful. They need a higher price in order to produce those because they're less efficient, right? They produce them at higher cost compared to world suppliers. That's inefficient. They shouldn't be planning resources there. Those resources should be being used by world suppliers instead. So those production inefficiencies is horrible. Worsens the world allocation of resources. It's not good economics. It's not efficient policy making here. Number three is a really strong point. If you as a nation, or as a government, decide to impose a tariff on certain imports coming in, whatever it might be, clothing, wheat, foodstuffs, tobacco, whatever it might be, you can expect retaliation coming from the nation on which you've imposed this tariff. Okay? And you can expect that retaliation to be much stronger. So if you put a tariff on, I don't know, 10% on certain goods coming in from a given nation, you can expect much worse retaliation. And retaliation is awful. Retaliation just hurts consumers more. Retaliation makes these inefficiencies worse. Okay? Retaliation is not good for anybody, really. Okay? And it distorts the real benefits that can be gained from free trade. Okay? So retaliation, on the one hand, you might see some benefits of imposing this tariff, but if the nation retaliates on you, then the cost of that retaliation will be much higher than the benefits that may have accrued from this tariff. And tariffs are aggressive. Okay? Who bears the burden of the tariff? It's consumers. Okay, and a lot of tariffs go on low-priced items or essential items that the poor or those on low incomes tend to buy a lot. Clothing is a good example. Agriculture-based products, your typical foodstuffs, your fruit and vegetables, your meat, that kind of thing. Clothing, all these kind of basic items that low-income households tend to spend the majority of their income on. They are the ones who are going to suffer. So in that sense, a tariff is regressive. It hurts those on low incomes far more than will hurt those on high incomes. So when it comes to equity and the distribution of income, imposing a tariff is likely to worsen the distribution of income and worsen the issue of equity. When it comes to evaluation, what kind of things can you talk about? Well, you can always question the size of the tariff and therefore the impact it's going to have on the market. You can also question the elasticity of demand and supply in this market here. So remember, the intention of the tariff is to squeeze imports, to reduce the quantity of imports coming into a country. Well, if demand and supply are both very inelastic for various reasons, then actually the quantity, the extension of supply for domestic suppliers will increase, but not by very much. The contraction of demand, okay, yes, there'll be a fall, but not by very much. Therefore, the fall in imports coming into the country will be quite minute, will be quite small. So if ever you're questioning your end impacts of a tariff, you can always bring in the elasticity of demand and supply, and especially if the two are very inelastic. You'll see, if you put them on a diagram, how the quantity of imports does not fall by a great level. That's a nice evaluation point alongside the size of the tariff, which is also substantial in understanding the actual impact it will have on the market. Okay, so that's it for tariff, guys. Really important set of 3 videos I made on the tariff. Make sure you learn it all and you're happy. It's a very common exam question, so hopefully now you feel confident to nail it and that you know all the points for it. Thanks so much for watching. I'll go back to that side, I think, on the next video. Alright, see you then. Thank you.